The 1980 Big Ten Football Preview, presented by General Motors Parts Division, who would like to remind you to keep that great GM feeling with genuine GM parts. The 1980 Big Ten Football Preview features the University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini, coached by Mike White. Indiana University, the Hoosiers, coached by Lee Corso. The University of Iowa, the Hawkeyes, coached by Hayden Fry. The University of Michigan, the Wolverines, coached by Bo Schembechler. Michigan State University, the Spartans, coached by Frank Muddy Waters. The University of Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, coached by Joe Salem. Northwestern University, the Wildcats, coached by Rick Venturi. Ohio State University, the Buckeyes, coached by Earl Bruce. Purdue University, the Boilermakers, coached by Jim Young. And the University of Wisconsin, the Badgers, coached by Dave McClain. Hi, I'm Bill Fleming, your host for the next half hour as we preview the 1980 Big Ten football season. In this beginning year of a new decade, we have only to look back 10 years and realize what great strides in nearly every department have been made in Big Ten football. In the four major categories of rushing, passing, kicking, and scoring, there's not a single record standing that was there at the beginning of the decade, proving that Big Ten football is indeed getting better every year. In fact, a record 4 teams were invited to bowl games following the 1979 season. And so the Big Ten was well represented in postseason play. In a moment then, we'll begin our preview of the 1980 season with the players whose swift legs keep the scoreboard operators busy, the runners. First, this from General Motors Parts Division. Tim Clifford of Indiana University was named the Big Ten's most valuable player at the end of the 1979 season. On his way to that honor, he set numerous Hoosier records, the most important of which was his total offense mark. In the backfield with Clifford once again will be Mike Parkrader, who no doubt will become Indiana's all-time leading rusher in his senior season. In '79, he led the Hoosiers in running for the 3rd time. Number 44, Lonnie Johnson, was a fullback in '78, played tailback a year ago, will switch back to fullback in '80. He not only is versatile, he's one of the Big Ten's hardest running backs. The key to a strong running game is the offensive line. The forward wall of the Fighting Illini provided Mike Holmes with some excellent holes. Holmes should have an outstanding senior season. He has the speed and the natural instincts for running that could give Illinois that breakaway threat. This 75-yard run against Michigan State was the 3rd longest run from scrimmage in the Big Ten during the season of 1979. Although the Iowa Hawkeyes never intended this particular play to work like it did, they were pleased with the results. Quarterback Gordy Bohannon did some quick thinking as he picked up the loose ball and scooted in the end zone for a touchdown. The Hawks lost the Big Ten's leading rusher, Dennis Mosley, through graduation, but returning is number 35, fullback Dean McKillop, who was second only to Mosley in rushing on the Hawkeye squad a year ago. And one of Iowa's top freshmen was Mosley's understudy at running back, Dwayne Williams. He demonstrated he's ready for a starting role in '80. At Northwestern, a freshman who was also impressive last year was number 34, Keith Dennis. He had an excellent game early against Michigan. With Dennis at fullback and with the veteran Mike Kamen, number 33, returning at tailback, the Wildcat backfield should have some strong running potential. Kamen was the Cats' second leading rusher in '79, despite missing several games with injuries. The Wisconsin Badgers got some top-notch performances from fullback Dave Mohap last year. Time after time, his leg strength enabled him to keep moving forward after being hit. Mohap starts extremely fast for a fullback, hitting full stride in several steps. A mighty valuable asset when trying to get into that end zone. Wisconsin discovered a 17-year-old freshman fullback a year ago who should be something this year. Number 36, Gerald Green. 6'2", 250 pounds, and plenty of speed. The Badgers' opponents, no doubt, will see plenty of Green for the next 3 seasons. At Michigan, hopes are running high that number 32, Stanley Edwards, will emerge as one of the best fullbacks in the conference. He played tailback a year ago and averaged 75 yards a game. He's such a strong blocker that the Wolverines want to use him in the same backfield as Butch Woolfolk. Woolfolk was an all-conference selection in 1979, and he wound up third in Big Ten rushing. With this brilliant 92-yard run against Wisconsin, Butch Woolfolk broke Tom Harmon's previous Michigan record that had stood for 39 years. Woolfolk is a junior who could become a three-time all-conference back before his career is over for the Wolverines. Minnesota's Marion Barber, the captain-elect of the 1980 team, became the all-time leading rusher for the Gophers in '79, surpassing the mark established by Gopher athletic director and former great Paul Giel. Marion's favorite play, the aerial dive into the end zone. With Barber returning at tailback, and with number 9, Gary White, back at fullback, Minnesota's going to have a terrific tandem punch. White turned in 2 games in which he rushed for more than 200 yards. In fact, his 230 yards against Wisconsin was the Big Ten's best in 1979. The only problem he had on this touchdown run occurred after he scored. It would be difficult to exaggerate when speaking of Art Schleister's value as a runner to the Ohio State attack. On his rollouts, he has that sixth sense of where to go. He lets his blocking form. And then, at the precise moment, he makes his cut. And it's another 6 points for the Buckeyes. Schleister led the conference in touchdowns with 17, and he ran for 8 of those. The Bucs were always strong on the ground under Woody Hayes, and they continue to be under Earl Bruce. In Calvin Murray at tailback, they have one of the nation's foremost running backs, great speed. He also has tremendous drive and power in his body. He's a player who is as hard to stop as any of his famous running predecessors at Ohio State. Purdue followers feel they could have as strong a running attack as anybody in the conference if number 37, John Macon, recovers from postseason surgery. Macon was the second leading rusher on the '79 team, and he is the only proven performer to return at fullback. Not only did Macon sustain injury, but the hero of the Boilers during their late season surge, Ben McCall, was also on the shelf with knee surgery following the Bluebonnet Bowl. Boiler fans won't forget the fine performances of McCall, particularly in the Michigan game, and also in the Bluebonnet Bowl in the victory over Tennessee. Michigan State once again enters a season with a number of talented runners. Tailback Steve Smith, number 20, is one of those who runs with abandon. He's a slasher, and he breezes past people so quickly there's barely time to get a hand on him. There's really only one way to make sure that he's down, and that's to meet him solidly at the crossroads, like this defender did. With number 32, Derek Hughes, switching to fullback, he'll give the Spartans the inside strength. It's a threat they need to keep the defense from spreading to stop the sweeps of Smith. And how's this for a gymnastic touchdown? A front flip into the end zone. And so that's a look at the Big Ten runners of '80, the ground troops. Next, the artillery experts in the passing game. In his final year at Purdue, quarterback Mark Herman will be out to break all of his own Big Ten passing records and a number of NCAA marks as well. Happily for him, both of his favorite targets returned, split end Bart Burrow and tight end Dave Young. Herman's ability to drill the ball or to float it softly, like he does here to Burrow for a touchdown, gives him that added dimension of versatility that makes defensing Purdue so difficult. In number 80, Dave Young, the Boilers have one of the greatest tight ends in their history. At 6'6" and 242 pounds, he's an intimidating figure. This combination of Herman, Burrow, and Young certainly makes Purdue one of the top candidates to win the Big Ten title in 1980. At Northwestern, there's good news, bad news, and good news again for the Wildcats. The good news is the quarterback Mike Kerrigan on the throwing end of this long bomb will be back. The bad news is that Steve Bogan on the receiving end has decided to concentrate on baseball. The other good news is that number 26 split end Todd Sheets has been granted another year of eligibility due to injuries from a previous year. He led all Wildcat receivers in '79, and so his return to the lineup is most welcome news to Northwestern. Illinois had the passingest season in its history in '79. One of the reasons was a number of outstanding receivers, one of whom was number 13, John Lopez, at split end. The Illini had quarterback problems a year ago, simply because Rich Weiss was injured in the first game and was sidelined. Lawrence McCullough came on strong, though, but he's been graduated. Weiss is back, throwing here to number 81, tight end Mike Sherrod. And with Weiss and Tim McAvoy both back at quarterback, and with flanker, number 36, Greg Foster, as another solid target, the Illini should have a potentially dangerous passing attack this fall. Iowa can certainly give defenses a different look, especially when left-hander Phil Seuss is at quarterback. He can go long, just as he does here to freshman wingback Jeff Brown. Or the Hawkeyes can put in a conventional thrower like number 11, Gordy Bohannon, tossing it here to number 34, Lewis Burke. He fires this one to the Hawkeyes' leading receiver of '79, Keith Chappelle. Even a third quarterback is available. Number 12, Pete Gales, who saw quite a bit of action a year ago as a sophomore. He hit Chappelle with a beauty right in stride for 6, so there's no question about the fact that the aerial attack at Iowa will be hard to cover this year. The same can be said for Michigan State, with Bert Vaughn back, fully recovered from the kidney injury that slowed him in '79. He'll have to look a long way to find a more perfect throw and catch than that one. From Vaughn to number 6, Mark Jones. Another strike coming up to number 4, Samson Howard in the end zone. When Vaughn was hurt, sophomore Brian Clark was called on at the quarterback post, and he came through brilliantly for the Spartans. Here he hits Jimmy Williams, his split end, for a short gain. And coming up, the long one to Williams. With 2 experienced quarterbacks returning and some fast and sure-fingered receivers, the Spartans are rightfully optimistic about their passing game this fall. Wisconsin's Steve Parrish is the only Badger quarterback who is returning and who saw action last year. John Jostin broke his leg in the first game. Mike Kalasmicki was a senior. So Parrish was pressed into service in '79, and he delivered. He shows here that he can move the team in the air. Number 42, Tim Straka, on the receiving end of this pass, is a hometown product. He'll be a prime target this fall at split end, earning a starting role last year as a sophomore. For sheer excitement, Michigan fans feel they have the most exciting player in the country in Anthony Carter. As a freshman in '79, he was simply phenomenal, catching 7 touchdown passes, averaging 27 yards a catch, and rolling up nearly 700 yards in kick returns. He and John Wangler combined on what had to be Michigan's most thrilling moment of the season. Against Indiana, 6 seconds to go. The score tied. Time for one play. Wangler got his instructions, get the ball to Carter. And as the Michigan head coach, Bo Schembechler, went slightly bananas on the sidelines, Carter somehow managed to catch the ball and get into the end zone. This set off a celebration in the Michigan Stadium, the force of which was second only to Mount St. Helens. Successful plays have their origin in the communications between the coaches in the press box, the head coach on the sidelines, and the quarterback on the field. This play worked to perfection. Touchdown by Roy Artis. And here's another example, with Coach Joe Salem mapping the strategy.
Snap right, 96S. The post to take those guys up because they're playing man out there. You're one-on-one with that end. He's in the flat, pump it, throw it on down the field, all right? 17, help!
Gopher fans are hopeful of having this scene repeated many times during the 1980 season. The growth in confidence and ability in Ohio State's Art Schleister in just 1 year was really remarkable. Of course, it helped to have a receiver of the caliber of number 47, Doug Donnelly, as a prime target. How's this for a one-handed grab? Donnelly not only led the Buckeyes in receptions and in touchdowns, he chalked up a record that is hard to believe. He averaged 21 yards every time he caught a pass. From a freshman year, which saw Art Schleister often bewildered by defenses, he became a polished performer as a sophomore, showing a poise that few attain, even as seniors. He has an uncanny ability to lead his receivers just right, like he does here with split end number 44, Gary Williams. In all of the '79 regular season, Schleister was intercepted only 5 times. He had that many in his opening game as a freshman. As mentioned before, Tim Clifford of Indiana was named the Big Ten's most valuable player. Here he's right on the money to Dave Herringody, his tight end, who returns in '80. And this long one is to Nate Lundy, who was also back. This pass set up an eventual touchdown against Michigan. Coming up, a pass to Bob Stevenson that may very well have been the biggest one of the season for the Hoosiers. It proved to be the winning margin against BYU in the Holiday Bowl Classic. Indiana's been playing intercollegiate football since 1887, and this was the Hoosiers' first victory in a postseason bowl game. Next, the Big Ten defenders, the tough ones. No conference in the country appreciates the Big D, defense, as much as the Big Ten. And the defenders know that the cheers are as much for them as they are for the offense. At Minnesota, number 94, Kevin Kellen, earned his spurs as a freshman in '79. And the Gophers came up with another freshman find, number 26, Mike Robb, a real hitter. Not only did Robb demonstrate that he could stop anything that came near him on the ground, he was also outstanding as a pass defender. At Illinois, they'll tell you that number 37, Ernest Adams, a returning senior linebacker, is one of the best defensive players the Illini have ever had. He has the knack of getting to the ball, and he just generally causes all kinds of problems for the offense once he's there. Wisconsin's Dave Aarons, number 41, could also cause problems for the opposing team's well-thought-out offensive plans. Here he diagnoses the play and nails the ball carrier. At 6'2" and 230, Aarons hits with authority. Also look for number 50, Tim Crumry, to have a good year for the Badgers. He was most impressive last year as a freshman. Northwestern has two strong men worthy of mention, number 21, Chuck Kern, and number 97, Dean Payne. They are two returning seniors who will form the nucleus of the Wildcat defense. Both Kern and Payne have that kind of intensity that every coach looks for in defensive players. The Michigan defense this year will be looking to all Big Ten middle guard Mike Turgevac, number 77, to anchor the defensive line. This 235-pound senior is the only player in Michigan history to have been voted by his teammates as the most valuable freshman and, again, the most valuable sophomore. Although the great Ron Simpkins is gone, the Wolverines do have a couple of top linebackers returning. Number 53, Mel Owens. And number 41, Andy Canavino, who was Michigan's top tackler last fall. At Iowa, number 75, John Hardy, shows how to stop a ball carrier right in his tracks. There's nothing gentle about the way Hardy plays the game. At 6'6" and 257 pounds, he's one tough football player. And the Hawkeyes are mighty glad to have him on their side of the line of scrimmage. The Hawks' leading tackler a year ago is number 37, Todd Simonson, who has 2 more seasons left. It's almost as if he says, the play stops here. At Purdue, number 15, Tom Kingsbury, was nicknamed Kamikaze by his teammates. Not without good reason. Opposing quarterbacks agree that this defensive end is very aptly named. Number 94, Calvin Clark, was also known to throw his weight around for the Boilermakers, all 255 pounds of it. Perhaps the defensive gem of the year was turned in by Jim Looney, number 59, a linebacker. Michigan had the ball on the Boilermaker 4-yard line, 4th down, with Purdue leading by 3 points. Looney came in, dropped quarterback John Wangler for a 6-yard loss. Purdue took over the football and eventually won the game. Defense was equally important to Indiana's rise to prominence in '79. The Hoosiers got a solid performance out of Craig Walls and Brent Tisdale, number 97. At 245 pounds, Tisdale has the right dimensions for a defensive end. Number 62, middle guard Terry Talon, was in on much of the defensive mayhem. But it was sophomore Tim Wilbur, a cornerback with 8 interceptions, which set an Indiana record in '79, who was the defensive game breaker for Indiana. This run, following an interception, was singled out by Coach Lee Corso as the finest effort he had ever seen in all of his years of coaching. With Tim Wilbur spearheading the core of defensemen for Indiana, the warning is out. Passers beware. Everything's A-OK for Michigan State's Bernard Hay, number 93. When he's around, he does make his presence known. The Spartans also have a versatile defender in number 28, James Burrows. He has the quickness of a tailback, and he proved time after time when he got his hands on the ball, he knew what to do with it. He took particular satisfaction in blocking kicks. Coming up, one of his masterpieces from '79. Not only does he block the kick, but he leaps high in the air, and he comes down with the football. One of Ohio State's best defenders, number 15, Al Washington, a devastating tackler. They also have number 36, Mark Merrick, a freshman of a year ago, who worked his way into a starting role. And then there's all Big Ten tackle Luther Henson, number 54, returning. At the rover position, the Bucs are glowing about Todd Bell, a sure tackler, and another all Big Ten selection. He's an alert defender who can turn a game around. Bell was in on the Big Ten's defensive gem of the year, a blocked punt against Michigan. Bell judged the bounding ball just right, picked it up in stride, and pranced into the end zone with the touchdown that provided the Buckeyes with the points they needed to win the Big Ten title and a trip to the Rose Bowl. It only goes to prove that defensive players can make as much pandemonium among their fans as members of the offensive team. In a moment, the fun of a Big Ten football weekend, right after this from General Motors Parts Division. Saturday afternoon in the Big Ten means different things to different people. To all, it's a time for outdoor fun, for getting together with friends to enjoy America's most colorful sport, college football. This is Bill Fleming on behalf of General Motors Parts Division, thanking you very much for being with us and inviting you to join the millions of fans this fall who will be part of Big Ten football. The 1980 Big Ten football preview has been brought to you by General Motors Parts Division, who would like to remind you to keep that great GM feeling with genuine GM parts.